Science number 269. It is April 21st of 2025. My name is Jack Purdy. We've got Akshay, Easwaran, and Jake Grant here. Nearly called him Jack Grant. That I keep doing this. This is my one slip up I keep doing. Anyways, lots of baseball to talk about, some basketball people coming up, and multiple golf things. By multiple, I mean the Peach Bowl Challenge Golf Tournament, which I know is of great importance to all three of us for about 5 seconds every time we hear about this tournament, just because we just want to make sure that our coaches beat Kirby Smart. And I did check the article today that they put up on RamblingWreck.com. They did make sure to note Paul Johnson has the most wins in this tournament with 4, and he is playing once again.
Paul loves winning
That's
this tournament at a walk. It's just he's so good at just showing up to a Peach Bowl like this specific golf tournament and just absolutely running his pairing ragged. It's great.
Brent Key and Chan Gailey are also playing of the Georgia Tech contingent. Uh, I don't. I feel like I know we talked about this last year. I don't know if we checked scores or anything like that. I just know that Brent was not the worst, but I don't think he was like not at the Paul Johnson level of I just do nothing but play golf in North Carolina 3 days a week kind of thing. Which is probably why Paul Johnson should win this for a fifth time. So, I don't know. It's all for charity. It's all for good cause, good cause and things like that. But just as long as some other dude from the state of Georgia doesn't win, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Amazing how we treat this as real sports. Okay, on to real sports. Baseball had a interesting week, so to say. We got to see them finally at Truist Park play against Georgia. They lost that game 5-2, and then went down to Miami and they got swept by Miami in a what was it 4-2 4-2 7-2 and then 10-2 losses. They have scored exactly two runs in 4 straight games. They haven't scored more than 4 in their last 5 straight games. So they dropped down to number 24th in the D1 baseball rankings. They're now 14-7 in the ACC, which drops them to third in the conference. They went from first to third over the weekend. Uh, we talked before. This doesn't feel like sound the alarm bell kind of stuff. You play a lot of games in in college baseball. You're going to lose 3 if you're most teams at some point, particularly in a row at some point. This is 4 at this point, but I'm not throwing any alarm, especially considering we allowed a small enough number of runs against Miami that games 1 and 2 were in theory winnable, knowing how our bats can do.
Yeah, I think that Jack, you and I were talking late in the UGA game up at Truist, and I don't know. It's one of those games, and this is the one I'm keying in on a little bit more because we were both there, and I know that we both watched it. But like, there's a lot of hard contact, straight at guys. They didn't
Yeah,
draw a ton of walks,
no,
and until pretty late, it was really a lot of oh, how do I want to put this? It was really a lot of like not having guys on plus a kind of steady bleed. Like there was no got close to having an inning that just completely gashed them, but
right, yeah.
thankfully or not, UGA got called out at second for obstruction, ending an inning with a double play, and they got it out of innings a couple of times like that, but. I don't know. There was really no rhythm, I would say, even with the hard hits, no consistent walks, and I need to check the exact quote on this, but the number of
Well, I mean,
pitchers
yeah,
used,
Georgia threw 10 guys in this game,
yeah,
which was their plan the entire game was to do a uber bullpen game sort of thing, like just throw guy after guy after guy out there, which in its
yep,
best form looks like this, where you get enough guys in there to where no batter is seeing the same guy twice. Never mind getting through the order once with one guy kind of thing, or getting through the order with 3 different guys each. So in that sense, that worked really well for Georgia. We did have 2 men on with a guy at the plate with the tying run at the plate in the 8th inning, and that did not pan out as we wanted, sadly. And they just they got Carson Ballard on a couple of pitches hanging that went for home runs that just barely got out of the park too. So like this was in
yeah,
terms of like game of inches, this really was game of inches because the 2 homers they hit were close to being off the wall. The obstruction call was pretty clear, and Danny Hall made sure to talk to the umpires to actually get that enforced. So that was a big, I mean, honestly, a big managerial play by Danny Hall to keep that from being a bigger bleed of runs in that first inning. Uh, and then we got this game tied. Like Alex Hernandez, was it Hernandez? No, it was Will Baker had a fantastic game. He had a absolute no doubter bomb into the chop house, and then had another big hit to tie the game up 2-2. So like they were in this game for the most part. It's a couple pitches that change ball flight, change wind, change a couple other things uh, that are just kind of random at some point, and we're looking at a very different kind of baseball game.
I will say though, the start to the midweek game, even though it was Brett Barfield pitching this week, which is changing things up, it was not ideal.
Yeah, yeah,
Two hits, two runs, both of them earned with two walks in a third of an inning pitch, six batters faced. So not really what you want to do. Five men on base in a start. It obviously we lost by three, so not quite as much of a hey, Tech lost by four against Auburn last week, and then bam, you lose by one because you're digging out of a 4-run hole with no outs in the first. But
hmm
I mean, it kind of feels the same, and those are maybe games not that you want back per se, but it certainly doesn't make it easy.
no, not at all. And not getting blown out, I think, is good in this four-game stretch as well. Outside of the one time, like it's been a could see these games going out multiple directions kind of things, which is good to see versus having games where we've been a little too used to that base being down 15-3 or whatever in a really pointless game, and we're not repeatedly doing that, which is good. Actually, we were mentioned. I know we were going through Mason Patel stats, a couple other pitching things earlier.
Yeah.
All things considered, I mean, Patel's still of the best in the country. That I think we landed on. We were talking about how Ben King was saying, like we've got the guys hopefully right now to actually get us into a winners bracket situation come NCAA tournament time. I mean, losing these games doesn't help you gain confidence in that we'll actually make this happen fully, but uh, it feels like things are still tracking the way we need them to track, though, in this department.
Yeah, I think with respect to that postseason setup, what you might think is like, look, okay, depending on like you're the host, depending on you play matchups and say, hey, maybe you put a less heralded pitcher in that first game slot, and you have the hitting talent to make up for it.
Yeah.
I think number one, speaking about that, the kind of coming back to the Miami series. I mean, I think you touched on this earlier, Jack. It's like four straight games with two runs. I'm a little bit worried about the hitting, especially later in the season. And two, I think given what how Ben explained it, right? Like those last couple of tournament runs, Tech just has not had the pitching depth in order to get out of a loser's bracket.
Yeah.
You don't, in a similar vein, you don't want to have to dip into pitchers 3, 4, 5 on your depth chart too early in a series. So that in that vein, I think looking towards the postseason, maybe again, there's like 15 games left. So this
Yeah.
is a little premature, but I think our conversation was, hey, do you roll with Tate McKee, or do you roll with Tate McKee in game one, or do you throw someone else out there, or do you go like McKee in game one, Patel in game two, just to stretch out your quality pitchers? Do you do something different, right? It, I think you kind of want to keep throwing the guys that are used to throwing on Friday and Saturday, and keep the bullpen guys, and also
Yeah.
just key in on, hey, like we need to take this one game at a time. But our higher level management concept is we need to be in a prime position to win every single game and
Right.
advance in the series as easily as possible. And to do that, you need to start on the right foot on day one, like Ben was saying,
Right.
and win that game by throwing your best pitcher, not getting caught in the losers bracket.
Yeah.
Now, like this sounds like very cliche now as I'm like talking it out. And like obviously you want to throw your best guy in game one. But at the same time, I know that these guys like to play matchups. And I think there's some tooling that you can do, especially if maybe this is anti-analytics, right? But maybe you ride a guy with a hot hand, like heading into with a lower ERA or a lower FIP, heading into that last weekend, or heading into the tournament. But I don't know.
We yeah. Some
I would
teams
keep
yeah
it consistent.
some teams do that where they like okay we got to do the hot hand thing and see how this goes down. The most blatant example I can think of in my head was the 2013 wild card game when the Braves threw Chris Medland and he was like the number 4 starter that year because he just hadn't allowed the Braves hadn't lost a game with him in like 3 months. There's like, well, we're just gonna do
Yeah, but
this.
that's like Freddie Gonzalez. I don't want to make
Well,
coaching decisions
hey,
based on Freddie Gonzalez.
it was the right move, and the umpire said we should lose that game. So that was that. Up on the Tate McKee point though, he has been very efficient these last 2 games, just in terms of pitch count. He got to 96 pitches and 7 complete innings against Miami, which is really a really good sign. He got into the 6th
They're
inning against
stretching him
Cal.
a lot longer, I
Well,
think, too.
he's been able to
Yeah.
stretch longer, but he's been able to pitch more effectively too. Like you're not going to pitch in the 7th inning if your pitch count's bloated. Like you got to be effective to get there. Only 2 of his runs were earned this time around too, as well. Which I'm never going to complain if he's got 2 earned runs through 7 innings. Like if the defense cost him, the defense cost him. But that's not on Tate. Um, and he had 4 walks and 4 Ks, so or 2 walks and 4 Ks. So strikeout number could get better, but whatever. Um,
I
but
will
in
say though,
general, but
with
that's big
McKee,
though. That's big though. Like that's also they did not throw Patel in this game. This was a rare case where we were losing, so they didn't put Patel in after McKee, because we were down 4-1 going into the 8th inning, and they threw Brett Barfield instead, who didn't allow a run, only allowed a walk. So in general, like that first starter thing, it's working, and I don't think you change. I think ideally they're not going to change any of the structure going into the postseason once they get there. Now, how the ACC tournament goes, we'll see, because that's a little bit different because that's single elimination. But
yeah,
come double
that one's
elimination,
different too.
yeah, yeah,
Um, just because of the basketball tournament style nature of that tournament now.
right.
It's how do you work through your pitching rotation when it's every game is of like that kind of magnitude.
Yeah, yeah.
With McKee, and I have his Fangraphs page pulled up. We talked a couple of weeks ago about how he was, about both of these guys. We've been tracking them for a couple of weeks and talking about, okay, are they overperforming or underperforming in terms of ERA versus FIP? I think McKee has definitely come back down to earth with that FIP resting right around 3.2 versus an ERA around 3.5. So that difference is much smaller than it used to be. I think one worrying thing that I see on the stat sheet here is that the batting average on balls in play for him that's allowed is 309 versus an actual allowed, or versus a like a proper batting average of 230. So that's interesting to me. It that means that opponents are definitely, that's a lot of hard hit balls. It's a lot of balls put in play and just turned into, he's getting a lot of support from his outfielders. That's what that reads like to me. On the side of Patel, he's still pretty well outperforming his FIP at a 2.4 ERA with a 3.7 FIP. But
Looking at
all of
his
some of the other ones, like the walks and the batting average, like the BABIP stuff, is all a lot better. And I mean, he's leaving guys on, even if he's getting guys on base, he's leaving them on base at a much higher clip.
yeah, no,
So,
he's at the best for a reason. Now, granted, this was not his best weekend. He allowed 3 earned in the 1 inning that he threw against 7 batters. So this was an off weekend
but a
for him.
lot, but
Granted, we
to
were
that
also
point,
down by
it's
that
on
point
one
too.
pitch, right? Like that
Yeah,
was a 3-run home run, if I
yeah,
remember correctly.
I think that sounds right. Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, you're
that's
gonna hit
he's
like have one of those
yeah.
every so often, but I think the
It's rare
thing
he's
with
allowing
that,
it's rare he's allowing 3 hits in a single inning though. Like that's unlike him with what we've seen
yeah,
so far
and I
this
mean,
year.
like over the course of the season, right now he's at 44 innings, right? Over the course of the season, like he's allowed one home run per 9 innings, and also, but like that left on base percentage, which is what I was talking about earlier, like
Yeah,
he's leaving guys on base at like an 80% clip.
that's huge. Yeah,
So
that's big.
it's pretty like the his ability to get out of those jams, regardless of how they're created, I think is pretty huge.
Yep. We did get Kyle Ledise back this weekend, and I assume he's just working his way back into playing form and whatnot, but he was back at the top of the lineup. Jake, I did want to make sure we talk about just the general Truist Park experience because I know we've been talking about like this is so
It's
good this game was back.
it's back. It's
Um,
back.
in the
It
end,
wasn't there, but it's back. I'm
it was
happy about
back.
it.
the crowd felt kind of 50-50 to me, at least
Yeah.
from what I could
I
tell
mean,
visually.
I don't think it was purely 50-50, but it felt like a more even split than, I don't know, a
Other
neutral
sports.
site football game is
Yeah.
probably going to feel like in
Yep.
November,
Yep.
but
Yep. No, it felt good. And it was a fun crowd. It was fun to finally watch some innings as purely as a fan and not sit in the press box for some of it, which was fun. I saw some past GT athletes in the crowd as well. So you got some folks
I
out.
gotta say something, Jack.
Yeah.
This, now that it is a Georgia Tech specific related reason, and doubly so because I don't think they opened up all the lots for parking, run a couple buses to Art Center or Lindbergh or somewhere
Yeah.
on the Red Line or HE Homes, like somewhere, anywhere.
There were no students at this game, that's for sure. Like the student
Yeah.
population was near nothing. Which I mean,
Actually,
two
I'm not
two
so sure about that. I saw a lot of people
there were
who looked
some. There were
younger than
some.
me but too old to be high schoolers,
There were
but
some. There were some,
I don't
obviously,
know.
but like that's a hard one to pull off on a Tuesday night, uh,
Yeah.
to a place that doesn't have a MARTA station. So yeah, it's not the
Yeah.
easiest situation.
And also,
But even
where
like
this game fell in the calendar too. You're talking about getting
Hmm.
into that last exam week, closer to finals week.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I was mostly going
when
for self-serving reasons because I don't like driving, but that the kids are all right too.
Right. Right. No, let's look at.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean this game used to be in March, right? Like
Yeah.
this game used to be a
right.
month earlier, if not a month and outright a month and a half earlier.
Yeah.
It was pretty
And
late in the calendar in 2019. That I do recall. But
I'm
they
gonna
Of
have to
also
look
used
course.
to
that up.
play three they also used to play three midweeks though. So it'd be a
Yeah,
Tuesday early, a
Yeah.
Tuesday, late March, and then a Tuesday mid-April. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
because they didn't do the full weekend format until like
mhm,
2 or 3 years
until
ago.
2021. Or maybe
Yeah.
they were gonna do it in 2020. I think maybe they did do it in 2020 and then the season ended. Because Virginia Tech was the last weekend. I don't know. Who knows?
it's fine. It's
Answerable
fine.
It
questions
doesn't
with
matter.
more time.
uh, the
Yeah.
It's all right. Of it, the announcements going forward, senior day was moved. It was going to be against Duke, but now or against Louisville, but now that is Danny Hall weekend, which is the final home stretch of the season, May 9th to 11th. Season actually ends right in the regular season on May 17th against Duke out of North Carolina. Senior day is now Sunday, May 4th, which is the Sunday game against Western Carolina, which is in 6 games. We play Virginia this coming weekend after we play Auburn on Tuesday at Auburn. So that'll be a number 24 Jackets versus number 11 Auburn. That is an 8 p.m. start, as that is a Central Time game. And then, yeah, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Cavaliers are in town. What's going on here? I'm just going to read the promotions. Let's see. We got Military Appreciation Night. We got Rodeo at Rush Chandler. I don't know
I
what
am
that means.
fascinated by this Rhodey at Russ Chandler thing, and I think I might show up just for
Interesting,
this.
interesting stuff there. And then Sunday is Jim Pool Day, so that'll be a good little historical night for the Jackets. Outside of that,
Sorry,
P9 on.
I also want to
Go
point
ahead.
out Senior Day is also Bark in the Park Day,
Oh
so
boy,
it's great.
I'm a fan.
That's going to be some good people watching
I'm a
right
fan of
there.
I'm a fan of that. In general, there's a lot of winnable games coming up between Western Carolina, Georgia Southern, and Mercer all in a row. So we'll get some wins up and inflating the calendar here, but we need some ACC wins as well after we struck out against Miami. Okay, with that, we'll move on to softball, which did not actually play this week. They were scheduled to play down at Florida State, but of course, after the tragic shooting down there in Florida State, the series was very quickly canceled. So, of course, really thinking of everyone down there at Florida State. Just not not what you want to have happen ever in any situation. So, sucks that they don't get to play this game, and for the worst reason. On top of that, Tech now has 4 canceled games this season. First time since 22 they've had that many when there were 5 canceled in 2022. Looking forward, they play Georgia on Wednesday at home. There are free T-shirts for students to get people to come out. Uh, a win against Georgia would go a long way. They've got some big ranked wins already this season, but this would be very, very nice to get this one if they can do it. And now more rested for sucks for the reason why, but whether we like it or not, they are more. This is the first full week off they've had in a while.
Back on the Georgia game, by the way, that's an we have it listed here. This is the number 23 Georgia team. I think they're like mid 30s in the DSR rankings from D1 softball as well. One of the things that I clocked looking through the D1 softball sheet for Tech is that they're actually against the RPI top 50. they're 5-11, and yes, like that's the RPI top 50, and so their RPI and their strength of schedule are very good, and that does a tournament resume make. But I
Yeah,
still think like a statement, non like walk off win here, if possible, would be really really nice. Like the Auburn one is
I,
nice, but it's also like you need to really put a stamp on the season here.
I
hmm
see. I'm not usually one to like let them off hooks and things like that, but it really is a tough a tough draw in terms of just the assignment this year. And I think if we say that, and I know that we've kind of been inconsistent for who's been on the pod lately, but if we say, okay, they got that statement win that we said they need against Oklahoma State and or Stanford and or Auburn, like I don't know, feels like moving the goalposts. Like at this point, it feels more accurate to say just keep doing what you're doing. Like
I agree. I agree.
the
Yeah,
the data has stabilized. You see it in, in kind of the USI stuff. The movement gets a lot less. Everything kind of converges as we get further and further in. And yes, Tech didn't play this past weekend, but if you throw a baseball out, it's the same math. They lost 4 games and they moved down what, like 10 spots. It's not super high variance. I would say that, if they can keep plugging along at a rate that wins high quality games at a similar clip, they're still going to be looking pretty good come selection time because they do have a decent number of wins. Granted, they did lose a series to UNC, which is a very comparable team, but at the end of the day, we've said this when we talked about UNC, it's also a lot harder of a schedule than some of these other ACC teams are playing. So I don't know. I'd like to get this one. Don't get me wrong. It'd feel nice to finish the ledger on the year against UGA with a win. I would argue that we've lost them twice this month and that they've taken Danny Carnegie and and won the baseball game. So, getting
God damn.
getting one back would be good there. But no, like I said, it's a quality opponent, but they're making do about as well as I think you could expect. Maybe not expect, but Jack, I think you and I are on the same wavelength at least.
Right.
Like
They
getting there.
they've told us how good they can be, and they haven't exactly that those haven't been outlier situations at the same time. Like they have played
Yeah.
up to snuff and consistently enough throughout the year that saying, okay, they could maybe get one against Oklahoma State, and then they did, wasn't a
Yeah.
it was a biggest like one of the biggest wins in Eileen's era. Like that is still a fantastic achievement in its own right. And thankfully they've backed it up with other wins this year to be like, okay, there was absolutely a chance that could have happened, and it was actually starting, and some of these are starting to pile up. Losing to Georgia won't
And
destroy
dare
anything, but beating them certainly, of course, would help with everything as well.
dare I say, and they're one of their buckets that the nitty-gritty looks at is the RPI top 25 specifically. Actually, if we separate out just that top 25, they're actually 3-4 against that top 25 bucket, and I think that goes a
Good.
long way.
Yeah.
Yes, it stinks not to have those games at Florida State for your resume and your you know results there, but out of the stuff that's in the bank, they have every single one of the quad two, quad three, and quad four games done, which means that they close the season with Clemson and UGA, which is A,
Woo.
definitely going to raise their strength of schedule, and B, gives them 4 hacks, 4 bites at the apple, right? And granted, baseball had 4 bites at the apple to get some quality wins last week and didn't do it. But if you can get 2 of those, you're looking pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Especially with how the ACC's kind of unfolded this year, I would
Yeah.
say. And 2 feels like asking for a lot here. I think they'd be in an all right enough spot with only one of them too. But I'd really rather not go 0-4 and have to do some finding out. But RPI wise, they are 5, 6, 7, eighth in the conference right now, but it's a stronger league than it has been. You got Cal and Stanford you're looking up at. North Carolina actually slots in behind Tech RPI wise. So
hmm
that if that's a data point, don't love to lose the head to head against them, but Tech's got some real opportunity to make some hay coming up here with how strong the close of the season is.
I will say all four of those are home or at home.
Yep,
So
that's
it gives
big.
them a little bit of a benefit on that end as well.
Yeah,
And also you're not facing down the barrel and I guess the glove of Valerie Cagle at Clemson anymore,
Yawn.
which is always a benefit.
also
So
Jack, I think Tech has actually had five postponements or cancellations this year because
We
the
had
Kennesaw State
well,
game
if you say
never got
postponed,
rescheduled, did
if you
it?
say postponements and cancellations, just
Yeah,
straight cancellations have been four. But yes, the whole batch is
because
yes. There's five unplayed games this year so far.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say the Kennesaw game. I don't because that was the
Oh wait, no,
road
sorry.
edition. Yeah,
Let's see. Yes, that was supposed to be on the road.
yeah,
Yeah, we played them at home
yeah.
in a 7-2 win before we went out to Stanford. But yeah,
I was looking at
that one
this
is
and I
right.
was like, oh, we never played the lowest strength of schedule
Yeah,
game on
we did.
our schedule. Maybe that balances out not
Maybe
taking
it helps.
the top ones, you know. But anyways,
Some other. So yes, Georgia's number 23 ranked. Play them on Wednesday. Clemson is ranked number 19 in the country. Play them throughout the weekend. Of note, uh, because we don't play Florida State, we are guaranteed at worst. Actually, no, we are guaranteed a 500 road record this year at 6-6, and we are above 500 on neutral field and 17-10 this year at home. So all three where you play your game in the regular season categories are all above 500, which I did not do the research to see when the last time that happened, but I know that's not exactly a common feat for this team in recent years, so that's fun to see. And with a
yeah,
tight 26-17 record too, like the margin for error hasn't been a lot for this team, but they've been coming out on the right side enough times to really help things out. Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, all four of these games are at home. If you can catch them, please go catch them. This is a Clemson's good. This will be some high intensity ACC softball. We need everyone we can get, and any win against Clemson's going to help our tournament outlook for sure. Considering we're what Jake, you had us what in the basically what the eight the in the last 8 teams making an auto bid right now.
Yes, the or not an auto bid, an
Sorry,
at-large
sorry,
bid.
at large, at large. I misspoke. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
at large.
I'd put them as the most in of the next four in, which hopefully makes sense. It's a weird way to have to describe it. They're showing up on the list, but at the best place on the list that you could be. So I would not
Right.
say that it's a given, and that's why 0-4 makes me go, let's
Yeah.
not test that. But if you get two wins this week, I think that's probably doing decent work for your resume too. So
Yeah.
when does the ACC tournament start again? Because I feel like
Uh,
this is one of those sports that has a weird there's an off week
right now
for this because they're missing a team.
it says May 7 on
Okay.
the school website. So yes, there would be a week. There is a weekend in between there that they're
Yeah,
not playing.
because they're at 18 ACC games right now. I think they'd have to finish at 24 or no, 21. They'd
It'll be
finish
a
at
21
21.
this time now that they don't have the Florida State games. Yeah, so and I assume they're not gonna.
Yeah.
I assume the ACC is not gonna have them play against somebody else or finagle the schedule at this point to shoe in 3 more games, unless they want to. I don't know.
especially not when you travel commercial.
No, good point. Good
Yeah.
point. It would have to be your
Uh,
local. Or we just
Tech
play
is
Clemson
what?
6 times. I don't know.
No,
No,
no, no, no, no,
no,
no, no,
no,
no, no,
no.
no,
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 I'm good.
no, 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 no,
We'll
no.
pass on that.
Tech is right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in the ACC.
Okay.
I don't remember where that puts them in the tournament picture,
I believe it's
or
what a top.
the conference tournament picture, not the NCAA tournament picture. To be
Yeah,
clear,
yeah. That's a single buy at least. I believe instead of a double buy. Uh,
yeah, because it
with
goes
how
down because it's back to 12 teams, right? Now this is great radio.
Well, let me just. I was looking at the stats because I have not checked the stats in quite a while. Alyssa Weller, Paige Vukadinovich, Addison Leshberg, Grayson Tucker, Jaden Gailey, and Eliana Gottlieb are all hitting. Eliana Gottlieb, excuse me, are all hitting up over 300. Grace Connolly's at 274, Edgman's at 259, and then Hunter and Simon are at 215 and below. Sophia Voyle still killed at 2.45 ERA at 100 innings flat pitched, 118 strikeouts in those 100 innings pitched so far. Has only allowed 9 homers with a 214 opponent average. So she's killing it. Like kind of how we were talking with baseball. They've got a game one pitcher. If we got the right team out there, we can get best. These girls could absolutely get in a winner's bracket situation to start at least a double elimination situation. So they're they've got a way to get there. This team has, I think we've mentioned before, has a little bit less margin and having the optimal way to beat a team kind of thing based on how we've seen them play against these top ranked teams. But nonetheless, they're doing really well. Alyssa Weiler's got a 504 on base percentage. Seems good.
That's pretty good.
Just to follow up, it is not a single buy. You will still play on it. Currently, they would play in the first game of the
Oh,
tournament.
amazing.
Actually,
Okay.
it's top 12 teams in the conference make it. The bottom 8 play on day 1. The winners from those play on day 2 against the top 4 seeds and then
Got it. Okay, so
semis.
just top
and
four.
final.
Got it. All right. Good to know.
Yeah, only a single buy situation. But I don't think they're going to jump. Like, let's go back to looking at the standings. I've clicked away.
It's gonna be well.
Um,
They're 10-8 right now, so they need to win one game to guarantee themselves at least a 500 record here, or they just need to win. They need to win one to guarantee themselves a 500 or better ACC record.
I mean, if they win, oh no, they can't. They. I don't think they can actually make it into the top 4
Okay.
because Duke has 14 wins. The most that Tech can get is 13.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
they are mathematically eliminated from the bye. They're locked in. They'll probably be locked into this
8 seed.
bottom 8 seed.
Got
Yeah,
it.
they'll
Okay.
home field advantage, I guess, in those.
Hopefully. Where's the tournament this year?
Boston College,
That's right, Chestnut Hill. All
Brighton,
right.
Massachusetts.
Amazing stuff.
First time in ACC history, actually.
Oh, good for them.
It's a chestnut thrill, if you will.
Glad they wrote
That is
that.
something that no one has ever said about Boston College in the history of Boston College.
Hey, don't say that to Matt Ryan fans. Anyways, okay. With that, I think we can head to some podcast business, Jake.
Yes, of course. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Section 103. Section 103 is the best place to find Georgia Tech apparel. I was wading through the clearance section just now because I was curious if there was anything new over there. And I noticed that Drew Burris baseball jerseys are on sale. $19 off of a $39 sticker price. Not bad if you're looking for a deal. Probably means they're not coming back, so get them while they got them. About 50% off there that works out to be. They also have To Hell with Georgia THWG stickers, little rec pennants. They're very cool looking in honor of the clean old fashioned hate baseball game there as well. So some interesting deals abound. Jack, anything else we've noticed? I thought I saw that there might be some other deals in the works.
According to the advertisements, they're changing warehouses, which is why some things just gotta go, and that is why you got some stuff on sale. So, the warehouse clearance sale is what this is, I believe.
The we need more space. Get them out of here.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Go give them a look. And as always, use our code FTRS, 10% off and free shipping on orders over $80 every day.
Alrighty, on to women's basketball. This has been the news is still not amazing, as we've noted multiple times. Nell Fortner announced her retirement, which meant she is no longer with the team. All the coaches left and everything like that. And what happens usually when a coach is fired or retires is most of the players end up in the transfer portal because that's just the nature of things right now. And this past week, that meant the 2 best players from Georgia Tech of the last 3 years are no longer with the team. Kara Dunn, after she had announced she is in the portal, committed to USC. That is the Southern California version of USC. And then Tony Morgan last week landed in Kentucky with the Kentucky Wildcats, which means that our remaining players from last year are Inez Nuero, Ari Termes, Chit Chat Wright, and Deja Thomas Harris. But we now have 2 more players. So now we have 6 players on the roster with Leia Urde. Ooh, I guess I gotta get this name right. Okay, so our first freshman recruit of the Karen Blair era, Leia Urdiane, I believe is how you say that. She's from Zaragoza, Spain, which is where Nerea Hermosa was from. It was either Nerea or Ari Termes was from Zaragoza. Nonetheless, keeping the Spanish pipeline afloat, she played on the Spanish national team. So she has some familiarity with Ari Termes, considering she also played on that team as well, who was staying. She's played in some good international play as well. And then on the guards, on the transfer side, we have picked up Brianna Turnage from Florida State, who is an Atlanta native. This is her final year of eligibility. She played 13 minutes a game last year for the Seminoles. She was not on the top half of FSU's players when it came to Bart Torvik's rankings. She was behind Timpson and Lotson on their guard depth chart, so that's a very tough pairing to break through into. So I totally don't blame her when it comes to her minutes per game. But she will very likely step in as the starting guard or one of the primary backup guards behind Chit Chat Right. Uh, and there's more transfer portal stuff to continue. So all that to say, I mean, we'll love to see how more players to come in to see what players' plan is to build out this roster. And she's got at least a starting center. She's got a starting guard in. She's got a starting point guard in Chit Chat. So she's got two big pieces already there that have been positive and have been successful, and in theory should continue to develop in their game this coming year. Chit Chat can be very explosively good if if she gets more consistency with her shots next year. So that'd be a big thing. But all in all, neither of these are like the splashes that are turning my head like last year's recruiting class was. So we'll see how this pans out. I think this is where I'm at.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we'll see where this pans out is exactly where I've been with all this. So, you hate to see certain folks go, but I'm also given just how much turnover there has been,
It's the nature of the beast.
good to have Chit Chat still around, good
I
to
love
have
it. Yes.
the folks who want to stay, that's our term is, that's fine by me, gotta start drawing lines somewhere, right?
Yeah, we need them. We need them. I'm glad they're both staying. I think I mentioned this last episode or two episodes ago, but 25% of the available players in women's basketball hit the portal this year. So, I
Mhm.
mean, there's so much that can change. Like, I mean, I won't even begin to suss out who they're looking at or who they could get. I mean, if they're good, yes, please come to Georgia Tech. Please come be successful and win games for us. But there's just a
Yep.
gazillion options out there, ranging from people that are just trying to get out of deep in the depth chart situations to people trying to get more money to everything on, or they're wanting a new scene, be in a new place in the country.
Yep.
There's 18,000 different reasons why someone may want to transfer, and this is the most freedom they will ever have to probably transfer ever until the house case
Hmm.
settles, and that changes even more rules about how you transfer and contracts and things like that. So uh,
Yeah.
we'll see. I think that's all I got on that. I assume we're all in the same boat there.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Um, More
Go ahead.
basketball?
More
I was
basketball
gonna
for the
say.
men. I know we got. Well, the men did pick up a player as well. They picked up Cam Kraft, Cam with a K and Kraft with a C. He was most recently played at Miami of Ohio. He was at Xavier before. Uh, Looks to be a good 3-point wing shooter. He shot 43% from three last year. He was third team All Mid American Conference at 25.7 minutes per game. Uh, Looking at his Torvik page, he was generally pretty consistent about not turning the ball over and not having much of a variability in that, which is good. So if you're telling me we got a guy that can shoot 40+% from three from the wing, that's a big yes from me. Uh, I'll take that any day. He was, I mean, if you're averaging that, he was getting about three a game, and then averaging about 13 points a game. So I mean, put that on our roster. I'm good with that. Uh, I don't like that he's moved to schools this now for the third time, and we've seen guys that move around tend to keep moving around as well. So he did have a year off between his year at Xavier and Miami of Ohio, so this is only be his third year of eligibility, despite being in school for 4 years. So we'll see. But that's a guy that can shoot, which I like a lot, and that could be a very big lifesaver considering we got a lot of young blood coming into the team this year with all the freshman recruits that Damon has picked up, and notably with the tall dude with Mohamed Silla and Cole Kerouac as well. So should be good. Let's hope.
Yeah. I think I think one thing that I'd touch on is, Xavier experience is Big East experience. So maybe that's a data point to start to draw on too, but
True. Yeah.
go
I mean, I
figure.
won't. I mean, it's the Mid American Conference isn't the end all be all when it comes to saying who's good and not good. But hey, third team all conference and generally in it, most of the conferences is pretty good. It's just in terms of like say showing that they were a good player consistently throughout a year. So I think that's for Tech basketball, where variability is king for the most part. These last couple of years, something like a steady hand can go a really long way in just helping evolve this team to the next step of just being not a professional basketball team, but at least a more mature basketball team, I would say.
Yeah.
On Craft 2, I'm looking at that Torvik page. A lot of those 3-point jumpers, actually, like the overwhelming majority of those, 95% of those 3-point jumpers from 25 were assisted. So intuiting that a little bit, it tells me, okay, he's basically not creating his own shot. He's basically
Catch.
taking the
He's
threes
catch
that
and
he
shoot.
can get.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
catch and
catch and
shoot.
shoot.
Yeah.
That's the better way of putting it. And playing a little bit more quickly and not getting, bogged down in a defensive structure might help this team.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, Kawhi Reeves can kind of make his own shot as well. He's been a 3-point killer, for a 3-point guy for us in the corner as well. So having some optionality between how they can play off each other could be good to see as well. Okay, on to number 23 golf. Last week they were in the middle of the Ford Collegiate. They finished 7th in that tournament. Carson Kim had his career best tournament, finishing solo 10th. We were well behind a lot of teams that are close to the top of the rankings right now. But to see Carson Kim get hot as we get closer to ACCs, which are this weekend out in, well, I guess we were all looking at the shot sheet, but I did not realize this tournament was in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is notably, like I said, is an ACC state, but it's not a place you think is an ACC state, despite the fact that Kentucky is in fact an ACC state.
Yep. I think it's a little weird to see it so far afield. Feels like it just kind of lives in that like North Carolina to, Georgia, Alpharetta type of land,
Right.
But hey, go figure. Something a little different. I know
Do you
there's
know what
not a
the
lot of
TV
analysis there.
times?
I don't know anything about the club at
No.
Old Stone, Like
No, the Koreans
like
just play
I'm sure
really
they have
fast,
18
dude.
holes and don't hit it in the woods and that's that, right?
Perfect. Yep.
I'm actually trying to figure out what the schedule looks like because I'm interested in because this is like Jake. We talked about this a ton. It's like this is the 1 week a year or 1 of 2 weeks a year that we actually get to watch Georgia Tech golf. Period, or like on TV. I'm
It's usually like
trying.
the quarters. It's like around the quarters, like once they get in the match play is
Quarter,
when they
it's
start.
match play, yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh
they get
yeah,
through the
the
start play.
format. Yeah, I just want to know when it's on TV. Really,
Probably like that Thursday, Friday, Saturday situation. I think is how it's
it's
usually
also
been.
so fascinating. It's a very competitive sport. That sounds like a cliche, but it's just like Tech is always like the last couple of years has been not in that top five conversation, but they've been in that top 10 conversation. And this year it's like, okay, they're in the top 15 to top 20 conversation. I
Well,
don't
right
know.
now
It's
it's the
just
top
interesting.
22 conversation as I misspoke. They're currently the 20th,
Yeah, it
22nd ranked team in the country.
yeah, it's just there's like there's just a little bit missing from this year's team. But
Yeah,
they're still good. Like
yeah,
again, this is Tech's like textbook routine, like best chance to win a national title every single year.
yep.
And it will. I don't imagine that changing in the near term at all.
Right. Yeah, Hiroshi Tai has not been playing like all stellar Crystal Lamprecht level. Oh shoot, this dude might win a natty level golf. He is still the retaining champ though, for the time being. Looking at the rankings right now, Tech is the 5th highest ranked ACC team, behind North Carolina, Florida State, Virginia, and Duke. So not so it is still possible to get up in that top echelon in this tournament in particular. North Carolina is 8 and Florida State is 10, so and Virginia is 11. So there's kind of those three, and then the rest of the crowd for the most part. So if there's a way where one of those top three can get out of the way before we have to get rid of them before we play them in any match play situation, that goes a long way for us. Um, Outside of that, the top 25 is still the usual suspects. Texas, Auburn's up there. Ole Miss is up there. Illinois, who we bested last year, is up there at 12. Utah's up there. Vanderbilt's up there at 17. So that's rule. Pepperdine and Long Beach State entered the rankings recently. Georgia's not in the rankings, thank God. Uh, I did not realize Pacific had a good golf team, but they were receiving votes, and that is probably the most nerdy golf thing we've ever said on this podcast. Anyways, that is what we got there. Tennis and both men's and women's tennis had ACCs out in Cary, North Carolina. The guys lost to Louisville 4-2 in their first match. The women got through Syracuse in their first match 4-0 in round one, but then lost to Duke 4-1 in the quarters, which feels about par for how this could have gone for both of these teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, Jay is probably going to say the same thing, but these are not the best versions of these squads that we've seen in a couple of
No,
years. And
not at
also
all.
when you're playing any of these country club sports, it's like Oh yeah, beat your the other hodgepodge of ACC teams, and then lose to, pick your favorite flavor of blue
Right.
in the
Yeah,
second
well,
round.
and that's the thing too. Louisville's kind of a Georgia Tech's neck of the woods men's tennis program. I think this means that they finish under 500 off the top of my head. I probably should have looked that up, but given that that's fresh on my brain, I'm pretty sure I said that last week. Women's tennis, beating Syracuse, something you just got to do in the first round, and like the women's result, I think, is just about kind of what you would expect for how this team has been. They're just not quite what they were,
Right.
4 or 5 years ago. The men, I do think that probably puts them on the outside looking in. I mean, you want to be in that, 38, 37, top 40-ish type range to be in consideration for a bid, but
That
I
doesn't help.
think
That doesn't
being
help.
500, sub 500 really might put just too many ACC teams in front of them. And yeah, 11 and 12. Thank you, Akshay. They played a lot of good teams, but they, I don't know, not
Yeah.
no statement wins or anything like that, I'd say for the most part. So
Massey says 11 and 12. The team website says 12 and 12. But nonetheless,
Ooh,
they were only 5 and
I'd
8
go
in conf.
for, I was going to say I'd default to what the team site says at that point then.
Yeah. Either way, they were still only 5 and 8 in conference play and 2 and 9 on the road. So
Yeah.
the not yeah the part that makes them hard to add into an NCAA tournament consideration was there. Now, did they
Yeah.
play the number one team in the country? Yes, they did lose 4-0 to Texas as the number one team in the country. Uh, they they lost to the number 11 team in the country. They lost to the number 34 team in the country. The number six
Well,
team. They played no actually scratch that. They played the number one team twice this year because they played Texas and then Wake Forest took the number one spot and then they lost to them when they were the number one team in the
well,
country. So
but I think the
schedule
bigger statement of all of that is that they've lost seven in a row down the stretch,
that is true. Yeah, looking at this run, it is against number 34 Miami, 37 Florida State, which is the team right next to them in the rankings at the time of that match. Then number
Yep.
6 NC State, number 1 Wake Forest, number 6 Virginia, then lost to Virginia, unranked Virginia Tech, then lost to number 24 Clemson, and then lost to
Yeah.
Louisville, who did they beat 4-1 earlier this year.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean that's a brutal just a brutal run of teams down to finish, like regardless of what's going on. That's
But even
hard.
even then, Louisville and Virginia Tech, those are the teams that you need to take advantage of
Yep.
playing men
Yep.
or women in order
Exactly.
to,
Yep.
be in a spot where you could. I mean, for the women, that's the team that's hosted several times recently. They've generally done a good
Yeah,
job of
Duke.
cleaning up against that kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
Duke women makes sense for that, but
yeah,
yeah, still.
but yeah, no. If you want to be in the postseason contention, you got to get maybe one or two notable wins. They play a tough enough schedule that the 500, it's not a super big concern. They got a decent win against Arkansas in kickoff weekend, and other than that, like I don't know,
Yep.
the Louisville and Virginia Tech ones I think are like season hinging type of losses. So
Yep. I agree. So, so we'll see how the women. I imagine will probably get in the NCAA tournament. They've been a little bit higher
yeah,
up than the guys. They generally are pretty much a lock, especially when it gets to the individual doubles and singles stuff. When they have the individual tournament out after the team tournament. So we'll see how they all get slotted. Uh, General Institute news. Wanted to note that the provost and EVP of academic affairs at Tech, Steve McLaughlin, today took a job out in New York. He is now the 14th president of the Cooper Union. McLaughlin was at Tech for a long time. He got to Tech in 1996, and he was easily one of the just best people we had helping run the school for all of our tenures at Tech when he was provost. Certainly helped a lot of students kind of get through the place. He co-founded CreateX, which is a big freaking deal. Back in 2014, has become a massive piece of campus and some of just the best academic stuff we've got going on for student companies. He's got all sorts of different accolades and things like that. I won't bother reading off. But I mean, Tech, and just in terms of just how good people Tech's attracting, this is one of the best guys out there. And he's getting a presidency job, which he so well deserves. So Tech lost a great one today, but Cooper Union's going to gain a good one. So uh, on the academic side of things. Uh, well, y'all got anything on that? I know y'all both were quite involved in campus stuff during the time. I don't know if you have any Steve stories here.
nothing particular for the podcast, just that seemed like he was always doing good work and always around. And, you hate to lose a guy with 25, 26 years of institutional knowledge. That's tough. But
Yeah.
the thing that came to mind when I saw the news is kind of similar to how we approached the Tyler Santucci getting hired away by the Baltimore Ravens. As
Right,
silly
right,
as this
exactly.
sounds, but like if your depth is getting picked off the bench, I mean, we've seen Professor Charles Isbell, where'd he go, Akshay? Wisconsin? Something like that.
I think it
Um,
was, yeah, it was sound. I think it was Wisconsin. I'm
and
looking this up
well,
now.
Dean of Engineering too, I believe. Didn't he also recently get poached? Like that's the kind of turnover that I think is probably good,
This is
or at
normal. This is
least
normal in
not
academia
bad.
too. Yeah, in academia, this
Yeah,
is very normal. This isn't like Angel's
it's
losing his best closer or something
it's
like that. It's
it's wild to see some of the like old school like Dresser in White and Gold, if anyone's read that book, just like this person was this job, then this job, then these three jobs at the same time, then this
right,
job and this
right,
job for like 40 years. And it's like that's why DM Smith has a building named after him, because
right.
every kid had him in like two
Exactly.
different classes
Yes,
for
yes.
for the first 40 years the institute existed.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Tech still does a good job about retaining people for a long time, which they retained Steve for a long time. So,
yeah,
yeah, this is quite something.
yeah.
On the Survivor front, Eva is still in the game. Actually, I got to meet her last week, which is super fun. She is awesome, as if anyone's watched the show, has probably figured out. And hopefully, she keeps on going and hopefully wins the darn show, because that'd be cool. Uh,
Yeah.
I did not get a recap up last week, but I will this week. I was at a very nice Survivor party, which took away my writing abilities, shall I say.
Jack, your life must be so much more fun when you get to write about Survivor too, because you're so passionate about it. This angle's
It
got to be
is.
really convenient, you
It's
know?
real. It really is. It really is. Yes. When I have an excuse to write about the show, I will write about the show. And even when I was even last season when there wasn't a tech person, still writing a little bit just to keep my muscles warm and to keep my
There you
Survivor
go.
brain fresh. So, uh, no,
Well,
I treat this as a sport as much as anything else here on our shot list. So,
well, in that case, I'll take us out. I think we probably went into this week expecting to talk for like half an hour tops, and here we are an hour later.
it
So
never
thanks
actually
to everyone
happens.
for,
We have to
for
have one single topic and one topic only, and then we talk for 30 minutes. That's the only way it
yeah.
happens.
The baseball talk expands to fill the space. It's like a gas. But anyways,
Do we have a
thanks for
natural
tuning
gas
in.
law for this show?
Yeah, exactly. PV equals NRT. Billy Bean is
I,
actually calling me right now to ask about that. But
Billy, this is Jack Purdy. His one flaw, he knows the natural gas law.
Oh God.
Please take us out.
I'm just letting you
You were gonna
you
let me wallow in my bad joke.
also it's not called the natural gas law, right? A business major and CS major. Guys, come on, take some hard sciences. Anyways, we'll
It's
we'll close
computer
it out.
science.
Bleh. What did I even say? I don't even know. I'm going to eat dinner. In the meantime, you can find us at fromtherumbleseat.com. You can email us at fromtherumbleseat@gmail.com. Send us your summer stuff. We've got plenty of weeks to talk big topics, and that's honestly some of my favorite times of the year is just getting to explore things that you guys and us guys are interested about. In the meantime, you can find us on Blue Sky at ftrsblog. Whatever the heck comes after that on Blue Sky. I'm over there. Jack is over there, and Akshay is as well. You can find Section 103 on Instagram at Section 103 and at section103.com. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at From the Rumble Seat. Remember, tell your friends we appreciate it. It's the best way to pass along what we do here. And until we see you or hear you next time, good night, good luck, and go Jackets.